the weight of your body on cushion, on the chair. Feel the surrounding. And as you breathe in and out, try to keep your attention to the breath mindfully. Being aware when you're breathing in, being aware that you're breathing in. When you breathe out, being aware you are breathing out. Then we can try to generate, cultivate good intention for being here. For example, we can think, how fortunate and lucky we are to have this precious human life. Have met the Dharma. And having the opportunity and condition to practice the Dharma. Therefore, I must not waste this great opportunity and try to make most of it by practicing the Dharma as much as possible. And while our health is still relatively quite good, and while we're still alive. And practicing the Dharma means working with our mind. Trying to reduce and destroy all those harmful, destructive, negative emotions. Such as anger, strong desire, greediness, ignorance, strong selfish attitude, so forth. Which bring a lot of suffering and pain within ourselves, and also we engage in harmful actions, painful action towards others because of those negative emotions. And I must try to cultivate and develop and fully increase those helpful and beneficial positive state of mind. Which benefit us, which benefit others. Such as true love, compassion, bodhicitta mind, wisdom, patience, meditative concentration, and so forth. And in order to cultivate those positive state of mind and reduce and overcome those negative state of minds, we need to reflect, contemplate, meditate, and practice correctly and continuously. And to be able to practice, we need to be inspired to practice, encouraged to practice, to remind us of the practices all the time. For that very purpose and reason that we have come here together. So by being here, listening, engaging discussions, reflection, contemplations, that can help us to remind ourselves, to inspire ourselves to apply those practices into our everyday life as much as possible. So we can find inner peace, happiness, ourselves, and that we can create better environment for peace, happiness for others. May us coming here together, giving our precious time, energy, effort, resource, to be here listening, contemplating, so forth. May all this become cause and conditions to obtain our highest potential, the fully awakened state, as soon as possible. so we can be not only benefit, but the greatest benefit. And not only greatest benefit to some sentient beings, but to each and every sentient beings. Okay. So then, yeah. Refuge and Bodhicitta prayer. I think at the bottom of the page number 8. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Sangye chodan soge chonam la chanju pado dane kyapso che dagi choshe gibe sonam ge dola kenche sangye chupa anje doje nyesone tawa tonje kambe che tambe chone tense ba kodam de la cha so. Again, welcome everyone. And like on Friday, I think we are going to have kind of 4 short sessions with our session each, with a tea break in the morning and afternoon and a lunch break. And then there will be some me being parrot, blah, 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 blah. And then maybe, there would be some, maybe some contemplation, meditations, and then questions and answers. Okay. So today's topic, cultivating compassion in difficult times. I think of course, not only we need to cultivate compassion only the difficult time, we need to cultivate compassion even when things are going easy, good in our life, but not only during that time, also when things are not going easy and when there is challenges, difficulties on personal level, as a citizen of the countries, the world, the challenges that we face individually in our life, in our families, in the state, in the country, in the world, and how can we still keep compassion? How can we not lose the compassions? It's easy to be compassionate when things are easy. Things go easy. Life is easy. Everything seems just fine. It's much more easy to be compassionate to others. But it becomes much more difficult and challenging when things started to go not so easy. it's much more harder to be positive, kind, and compassionate in such situations, circumstances, and situations. But we have no better choice than to be more compassionate and kind even in those difficult times. The other options that we have in such situation is becoming very upset, bitter, angry, frustrations. That is not the better choice. No. Being angry, bitter, resentful, and so forth in such difficult time make things even much worse. Doesn't solve the problem. Doesn't make it more easy. But instead, it makes things much more difficult, much more challenging, much more painful. It's like, putting a kerosene on the fire. It makes things much more bigger, worse, so that is not the best options and the best choice. So, the best choice, the best options for our own well-being, for the well-being of others, to calm the situations, to make things more easy, to reduce the conflict, the best choice option is to be compassionate, more kind. So, as much as we all want to be that, not easy, isn't it? I don't know. Maybe you find easy, but I don't find so easy myself. But we cannot give up just because it's not easy. We shouldn't keep up trying. We shouldn't keep up trying, and we shouldn't give up trying to be more kind, compassionate, even in such difficult times. If we give up, or if we give up trying, then we can never be able to do that. So giving up is not options. So first, maybe let talk a little bit about the compassion. Compassion is the very foundations and fundamental idea, in Buddhism, all Buddhist teachings and the practice are very much rooted on that compassion. All the practice, all different form of practice, all different teachings are very much rooted from that compassion, or rooted in compassion, So therefore, compassion is, the very heart of all the Buddha's teachings and the practice. for a serious Buddhist practitioner and especially Mahayana practitioners, the very heart of your practice should be the compassion. Of course, there are many different practices we can continue to study, practice, but the heart of all the practice should be the compassion, because it is the very heart of all the practice. When we talk from spiritual point of view, trying to achieve our highest potentials to be the greatest help and benefit to others and oneself, there's no way to achieve that our highest potential, the fully awakened state, without compassion. Absolutely not. As one of the great, Indian master Chandrakirti says, the great compassion, the Bodhicitta mind, and non-dualistic wisdom are the three main routes to achieve fully awakened state, fully enlightened state. Without those inner quality or realizations, absolutely there's no way to achieve that fully awakened enlightened state. And as again he explained in his Mother Mega Avatara, the compassion is so important for a practitioner or spiritual practitioner on the path to the Dharma, the path to enlightenment, in order to be source of help, benefit, happiness for others and oneself. Compassion played a key role. And he explained how it is important at the very beginning, middle, at the end in our spiritual journey, in our spiritual path. Certain practice, it plays a role in the very beginning to kind of, push you, drive you. But then at the middle, maybe it might not be as crucial once you reach a certain point. In certain practice, it might be very crucial at a certain point, but maybe not at end, and like that, but the compassion play crucial, important roles, very important at the very roles at the very beginning, middle, and end. And he give with the example, giving some example, at the very beginning, he say it's like a seed, the seed of the plant. Okay. If you want to grow a fruit tree so that you can enjoy the flower and the fruit and to be able to share with others, what you need at the very beginning, you need to buy the seed, good seed of that plant. That is the first thing you need. Same, in order to enter the path, both of the path, first we need to have the seed of compassion. Without the seed of compassion, one cannot enter the Bodhisattva's path. So to enter, you need the seed of compassion. very important. In the middle, once you have entered the path, once you have entered the Bodhisattva path, then, it's okay now, even we don't practice compassions. It's the role of the compassion is done, And he said, no, it's very important to maintain that compassion throughout on the path. Then he give example, not only you need the seed, good seed of the, very good seed that you plant in your garden to have that fruit that you can experience, enjoy, and share with others. What you need is for that plant to grow, seed to grow, you need to keep on watering it. If you don't give water, it will dry. And it cannot produce the plant and the fruit that you want to enjoy. You cannot get that result if you don't keep on giving water, fertilizers, whatever other condition that you need. You have to keep on watering it. Similarly, to be on the Bodhisattva path, until we achieve the fully awakened state, to be on the path, so that our spiritual realizations, the plant of our spiritual experience or realization to grow, continue to grow, we need to keep on watering that with the compassions. So we need to maintain the compassion throughout the path, throughout the 5 paths, 10 bhumi on the path, in order to achieve our highest potential, fully awakened state, we need to go through progressively, from one path to another 5 paths, and then there are 10 bhumis. And throughout all those 5 paths, 10 bhumi, we need to maintain that compassion. And that compassion, like that water, that keep on giving water, and therefore the plants of those spiritual realizations experience started to grow. Not only grow bigger and bigger, And then is the role of compassion done after it is fully grown up? Again, and then again, no, it play important role at the end, even after the completions of the path. So then he gave example of it is like the fruit. You planted the seed, you continue to give the water, all the other conditions, then the seed grow into fully grown plants. It produce, the flowers and the fruits. And then once you have the fruit, then you enjoy the fruit and you can share with others, and others can also enjoy it. Similarly, at the end, when you achieve your fully enlightenment, fully awakened state, our highest potential, it is the compassion that makes the individual to be benefit to others. If you have no compassion, and when you are free from all your suffering, cause of suffering, you might just decide to, bliss out. I'm going to take a rest now for eons and eons. You know, I come through so long from all this suffering, all the samsara. I'm done with that now. I can take rest. You know, now I can rest. But when you have compassion, then you can't just stay and bliss out yourself. You know, it's the compassion that inspire or that draw you to be greater benefit to other sentient beings. So the role of compassion playing in order to be greatest benefit and help to others, you know, after one achieve the highest potential. So therefore, such is the compassion, the importance of that compassion, you know. So therefore, you know, we need to try to cultivate, generate the compassions and try to maintain it, you know, because if we don't maintain it, then again, you know, even you cultivate compassion, you can lose it. It's just like plant grow, and if you don't give water, then it will dry. Of course, when you reach certain points in your path, then there is no more losing of that. There's no more coming back. But until we reach that point, we can lose our compassions if we don't continue to work on that. You know? And so therefore, as important as it is, but at the same time, you know, we need to work on that all the time, you know. Even after cultivating, to maintain it, to improve it, to increase it. And great compassions. The compassion is the very root of bodhicitta mind. You know, without compassion, there's no bodhicitta mind. Without bodhicitta, one cannot become bodhisattvas. Without bodhicitta, you know, your practice of generosity cannot become practice of the perfection of generosity. Without the bodhicitta, your practice of moral discipline does not become the practice of discipline or more perfection or paramita of discipline. And same with patience, joy, effort in virtues, meditative concentration, wisdom, you know, all these practice, the bodhisattva practice, contact that we talk about, whether it's 6 perfections or paramita or 10 perfect paramita, those practice to become a paramita, bodhisattva practice, you need to have the compassion. Bodhicitta motivation. In order to have that bodhicitta motivation, you need to have a compassion. And without compassion, it's not possible to develop bodhicitta mind. And compassion is, you know, as Shantideva explained, another great Indian masters, around 7th, 8th centuries, as he explained in his Guides to Both Way of Life in first chapter, the benefit of the bodhicitta mind. And I think that the benefit of bodhicitta mind and the benefit of compassion is very similar, So bodhicitta, like bodhicitta, great compassion mind is like a, like a alchemy. Do you call alchemy? Alchemy that can transform ordinary metal into gold. So similarly, compassion and bodhicitta has that kind of energies, or to transform our ordinary activities into something virtuous, something positive, Normally, our act of eating is just an ordinary act. It's not a necessarily virtuous. It could be non-virtuous, it could be neutral, it could be virtuous, depending on the intentions, But in generally, the act of eating, cooking, sleeping, walking, hiking, driving, cleaning, all those different activities that we engage in our everyday life, those are very ordinary, mundane activities. Nothing special, nothing virtuous. But when such activities are done with the motivation of compassion, of bodhicitta mind, then those actions become virtuous. Those actions become spiritual. Those actions become cause of enlightenment. Those actions become cause of happiness for others and oneself. It's the same act, but that act has been transformed into something positive, like into gold, by the power of compassion. If you try to eat with real compassion and motivation, with the best compassion and motivation, bodhicitta motivation, then the act of eating becomes spiritual path, virtuous cause of enlightenment. And same with cooking, any activities that we do. So that is why it's like alchemy. It is like a medicine, that can numb your pain, like a painkiller, when you have very strong pain, that you are unable to bear the pain because so strong. If you kind of take a painkiller, that kind of numb that pains. It's similar like that. Sometimes we have our personal problems, challenges, different form of personal pain, challenges, pain, problems in our life. and we become overwhelmed by those problems, sufferings. We become overwhelmed by them, where we cannot kind of bear it. It becomes unbearable. We are unable to endure it, and it becomes so strong that we become totally overwhelmed, devastated. And we fall into sometimes depressions and all kind of things, not being able to deal with that pain. In certain situations with certain individuals, the pain is so big and they are unable to deal with that, then they abuse all kind of substance trying to overcome it, sometimes even taking their life because they cannot deal with that. Such is that how strongly impact individuals, overwhelm and overpower them. But when you have a very strong compassion, when someone has very strong compassion, because of your strong compassion, you have this ability. The person has ability to not to focus on their own problem and sufferings. They are able to see and feel the suffering of others as well, not just your problem, not just your sufferings. And because of that compassion, of your ability to expand, then you begin to see, understand you are the not only one who is suffering. You are the not only one who is going through that problem, that kind of suffering, that kind of problem. You see, understand there are so many other beings in the world or beyond the world, beyond this world, who are experiencing similar by myself, or even worse than myself. So your mind is not, your mind doesn't become so focused on your problems. Your mind started to expand and feel the pain of others, see and feel the from others. And when you are able to do that, you forget about your own suffering, your pain, or your pain and suffering problem become so small. You feel so small. Before, when you are self-obsessed with your problem, only thinking of your problem, as though nobody has problem. You are the only one who is having this problem. Why it is happening to me? What did I do wrong? I don't deserve it. When you think that, then your problem begin to feel, regardless how big or small problem, in your mind, you started to feel the problem bigger and bigger. And then you feel overwhelmed by that because in your mind, you feel the problem is such a big. That's how it overwhelms our mind, overpower our mind. But when you have that great compassion and the bodhicitta mind, and when you are able to feel, then you see your problem, very small dot among so many billions of many big dots. No, this is nothing. It's very small. You begin to feel more light. You begin to feel it's much more smaller than I thought. relatively compared to the rest of the world, rest of the uh, samsara, then you don't become too overwhelmed by that. Mm. So that is like the medicine, that numbs, the pains. Are we clear on that? Yeah. Then the great compassion bodhisattvas, like the cloud and the rains of the clouds, rain through the rain from the clouds, then it gives life to all these living beings. Everything started to grow. And compassion is like that rain, that give, life or the plant of our spiritual realizations, spiritual experience to grow. All other spiritual practice or spiritual experience or realization will start to grow through the power of the rain of that compassions. When you have that compassion, your practice and realizations or moral discipline will grow much more stronger. When you have a compassion, your practice of patience will grow much more greater, bigger. Definitely the bodhicitta will grow, And then when you have compassions, again, it creates better environment, more peaceful environment that support your meditation, concentrations. Through the compassions, you are able to create a lot of virtues, a lot of merit, quickly, easily, with the support of the such merit, you will be able to more success in cultivating the wisdom, realizing the emptiness, To have the realization of emptiness, it requires a lot of merit, a lot of conducive conditions, the merit, the virtues. As one of the great Indian masters, Aryadeva, the main disciple of Nagarjuna, as he said, for those who have very little merit, they wouldn't even have the opportunity to hear the teaching on emptiness. Even just to hear the teaching on emptiness, it requires merit. And to be able to have correct realizations, understanding of that, it requires even much more merit. So again, when you have compassion, then it really helps us to create the conducive conditions, those virtues merit, so that we can have, more success in cultivating the wisdoms. So through that, then, that is how it helps, how that compassion can help us to give life to all the spiritual experience and realizations. now we can talk, what is the compassions? So now we have spoken about, little bit discussed about the importance of compassions. Okay. Importance of compassion. And now we can discuss a little bit about what the compassion is. Compassion is one of those virtuous mind. When you talk about mind, there are different kind of minds: virtuous mind, non-virtuous mind, neutral mind. And compassion is one of those positive, virtuous mind, mental factors within the mind. And is a mental factors, that wish to see the others to be free from the suffering and cause of sufferings. Okay. So that is the mind. What is compassion? Compassion is a mental factors or mind that wish to see the others free from the suffering. Suffering and cause of suffering. So that is the mental factor. So that is the compassions. So then we can talk about how to cultivate or how to develop the compassions. As I was discussing yesterday, most of the spiritual path or religious talk about need to cultivate love and compassion. All of them, more or less. Every major spiritual path encourage to cultivate love and compassion. And so does the Buddhist in Buddhism and in Buddha. And as I mentioned, not only he encourages us, but the compassion is the very heart and core of all his teaching and practice. One unique of that, as I mentioned yesterday, is in many other spiritual paths, while they encourage you to develop love and compassion, but they don't teach you how to do that. But in Buddhism, you find how to do that, the method, through certain meditation practice, technique, how to do that. So that is, again, I think one of the unique and beauty of the Buddha's teachings and practices, that not only he advise and encourage us to develop, but he teach us how to do that, how to do it. There are certain method through certain practice meditation that we can do that. And so definitely that will be one of the things that we'll discuss, and maybe we'll try to do some meditations as well after some discussions. I think another difference or unique or difference, you can say, is the concept of cultivating compassion to each and every sentient beings is, I think, another, not just all human beings, go beyond human beings, all animals, not only just all human beings, animals, but all other form of life, sentient beings within the 6 realms to cultivate. So then it becomes much more broader, expanding, not just compassion for your families, friends, and not just compassion to your neighbor or your same citizens of the same countries, or all the citizens of the world that we live in, but to be able to go beyond that and to expand to each and every sentient beings. Not only it is encouraged to do that, but because our mind has the capacity and ability to do that. It's not that you have been asked to do something, it's not impossible. Our mind has that capacity, ability to expand that compassion to all sentient beings. And since we have that capacity, then we should try to have that compassion for all sentient beings. And so that is, so I think maybe we will have a short break. Okay. Now I'm in problem. So before we do the little meditations and then open for the question and answer, the practice, the meditation that we are trying to do in order to cultivate true love, true compassion, is not same as emotional compassion. And I think maybe we want to kind of differentiate that slightly different. The emotional compassion, we don't need to practice. Okay? It comes naturally when you see certain things, certain situations. Emotional compassions, not only with human beings, even the animals, you can see expression of that compassion even in animal realms. You can see animal being distressed by seeing another animal sick, wounded, or be killed, or lost a life or something. You often see that. You also, so the compassions, the true compassion that we are trying to cultivate is not just emotional, but is kind of based on the firm commitments and the reasonings, so it is not just a kind of a moment of emotional, it comes through a strong base, strong commitment. So in relation to that, maybe I will read a little bit, in His Holiness book, Compassionate Life. He talked about where he says true compassion is not just an emotional response, which a lot of time we kind of relate with that compassion. And that is the word compassion, we think. But a firm commitment founded on reasons. Because of these firm foundations, a truly compassionate attitude towards others does not change, even they behave negatively. Whereas emotional response will change. You will feel compassion for someone as long as they act positively, nice, kind. The moment they act negatively, you lose your compassion. Not only you lose compassion, you might even become upset and angry and resentful, all of that. So genuine compassion based not on your own projections and expectations, but rather on the needs of others. A lot of time, the emotional response, which we feel compassion, is a lot of time is attachment. And when there is attachment, then it's based on your projection, your expectations. Whereas true compassion is not based on your projections and expectations, but rather in the needs of others. So that is where. In respect of whether other person is a close friend or enemy, as long as that person wished for peace and happiness, wish to overcome suffering. So that is the basis to cultivate the true compassions. Not because he or she is related, biologically, not because he or she is, my friends, not because he or she is my same community, not because he or she's we share same ideology, same spiritual path, or same all of that. Those are based on their needs. Is based on my needs. That is what I believe in, and we share that. Therefore, I feel close to that. Therefore, I have compassion. But when that changes, when he or she doesn't believe in the same thing I believe, then my feeling changes. So then that kind of, emotional response, compassion, very unstable and not true compassions. And so the meditation, the practice we try to develop is to have true compassion based on needs of others, not based on our expectation and projections. So that is one thing we need to be kind of clear in that, to be able to distinguish those two things. Okay, I think maybe, maybe. And there are quite a few different practice meditations on, loving kindness, compassion, and this morning, we'll just do one particular practice meditations. Okay. Again, just relax. Make yourself comfortable. Straight your spine or your back if possible. but don't try to be too tight and too rigid. Just relax. Feel your weight of your body on the cushion. And watch your breath mindfully. Then we can try to generate good intentions. For example, may this practice meditation become cause and conditions to generate and fully develop true love and compassion within our mind stream and others' mind streams. And may it become cause and conditions to achieve, our highest potential, fully awakened state. In order to liberate all sentient beings from all their suffering and cause of suffering. Again, bring back your attention to the breath. Then in front of you, you visualize three persons. Someone who is most dear to you, most close, dear to you, and next to that, more kind of stranger, neutral persons that you don't know so well. The next, the other side, you can visualize someone you dislike most difficult person in your life. No, now we try to start with the most close, dear to you. Think of all their his and her problem, suffering, whatever those are. After contemplating, try to feel their pain and suffering. and try to feel and wish them to be free of all the problem, all the suffering, and cause of all this suffering and problem. Maybe we can mentally recite, may he or she be free of this particular problem, suffering, and pain. And may he or she be free from all the suffering, all the pains, all the problems. May he or she be free from all the cause of all the suffering. May he or she have good health. May he or she has happy and peaceful life. May he or she has true inner happiness. May he or she has true inner happiness and cause of inner happiness. May he has true inner peace, happiness, and cause of peace and happiness. Now we turn our attention to the stranger, neutral persons. Even he or she do not wish any suffering, but he or she continue to experience suffering, problem, pain in his or her life, just like ourselves. Try to understand and feel their problem and suffering. Then we wish him or her to be free from all the sufferings and the cause of all the suffering. we wish them all the happiness, cause of happiness. Again, mentally, we can recite and feel, may he or she be free of this particular problem and suffering that they're experiencing now. Whatever that problem, suffering that might be. The pressing problem and suffering. May he or she be free from not only this pressing suffering and problem, but all the problem, all the suffering completely. May he or she be free from all the cause of the suffering. All the external factors for the suffering, all the karma, delusions, all the obscurations. May he or she have a healthy, long life. May all his and her wishes be fulfilled according to the Dharma. Whatever their needs are, may all their needs be fulfilled according to the Dharma. And may he or she find inner peace and happiness. May he or she find inner peace and happiness. May he or she find inner peace and happiness, and the cause of inner peace and happiness. Then we focus our attentions and feeling towards someone who are most difficult. That person's, again, is no different from ourselves and our dear ones. We just want to be happy, do not wish suffering. That is all. That is it. And just like ourselves and our dear one, even they do not wish suffering, they continue to experience so much problem, suffering, pain in their life. Physical discomfort, pain, emotional pain and suffering. Try to understand their pain and suffering. Try to feel that. How unbearable it is, how painful it is. And we wish them to be free from all those suffering and cause of suffering. We wish them all the happiness and cause of happiness. Again, mentally, we can try to recite and feel, may he or she be free from this particular pressing problem and suffering at the moment. May he or she be free from not only this particular problem and suffering, but all others problem and suffering permanently. May he or she be free from all the cause of all the suffering. May he or she has healthy and long life. May all his or her wishes be fulfilled according to the Dharma. May all her or his needs are fulfilled according to the Dharma. May he or she has inner peace and happiness. May he or she has inner happiness and peace. May he or she has inner peace, happiness, and cause of inner peace and happiness. Now we can bring our mind back to the breath. Now we expand our love and compassion, all who are in this center now, in this room. May you all be free of all your pain, suffering. All the physical pain, suffering, mental, emotional pain and suffering. And all the causes of all the suffering and pain. Again, we can mentally recite, may we all have long, healthy life. May all your wishes and needs are fulfilled according to the Dharma. May you all have inner peace and happiness. May you all have inner peace and happiness. May you all have inner peace and happiness and cause of all the happiness. Now we expand to all beings who live in this state and this country. May you all be free from all the physical and emotional pain and sufferings. May you all be free from all the cause of suffering, completely permanently. May you all have good health and long life. May you all needs and wishes are being fulfilled according to the Dharma. May you all have inner peace and happiness. May you all have inner peace and happiness. May you all have inner peace and happiness and cause of happiness. Now we expand that to all human beings in this world. May you all be free from whatever problem, suffering, pain that you are experiencing now. May you all be free from all the physical, emotional, mental pain and suffering. Permanently, completely. May you all be free from all the causes of all the sufferings. May you all have long, healthy life. May all your temporary and ultimate long-term needs and wishes be fulfilled according to the Dharma. May you all have all causes of all the happiness. May you all have inner peace, inner happiness. May you all have inner peace and inner happiness. May you all have inner peace the inner happiness and cause of happiness. Again, we can bring our mind back to the breath. Now we expect and extend to each and every sentient beings, all the human beings, all the animals in this world, outside of this world, all seen and unseen beings of 6 arms. May you all be free from your immediate problem, suffering and pain, and cause of them. May you all be free from all the physical, mental, emotional suffering and pains completely, permanently. May you all be free from all the causes of all those sufferings. May you all have long, healthy life. May you all wishes, temporary, long-term wishes and needs are fulfilled completely as you wish according to the Dharma. May you all have very peaceful and happy life. May you all have inner peace and happiness. May you all have true inner peace and true inner happiness. May you all have inner peace and inner happiness. May you all have all the causes of inner peace and happiness. And we can rejoice to have this wonderful wishes of loving kindness, compassion. And may we be able to maintain and keep such wonderful feeling of love and compassion. Then we dedicate all our virtues and the merit to develop and to maintain true loving kindness, compassion within the mind stream of oneself and all sentient beings. And we dedicate all the virtues and merit to achieve fully enlightened state in order to liberate all sentient beings. Yawadi nyudo da lama sangye du yone Yawa chi jama le ba de sa la kwe ba shu Chanjo senjo rinpo che ma ge pa na ke kyo che Kewa nyamba me pa ya Kong le kong tu kewa. So any questions from this morning and these sessions? Yes.
Geshe, I just want to ask you, sometimes when you turn on the news and you see all the problems all over the world and everything, you know, the war, people suffering, earthquakes and things like that, it's quite depressing. Is it worthwhile to watch that or to generate compassion? Sometimes it's overwhelming that people are so lost.
Mm-hmm. I think being updated with what is happening in the world without being overwhelmed, I think is good. Just to be aware the suffering, the pain, and what's going in the world. But not to give too much overtime and attention to that, Being aware of that is one thing, But sometimes we listen to the news hours and hours, same news, You already know what already happened. Then you have one panelist coming and explaining, another panelist coming and coming. And it takes you a lot of your energy, a lot of time, but you don't learn much more than what happened. But sometimes when you keep on listening and watching so often, it feels like, even though it happened once, it feels like it's happening all the time. And that is what makes our mind overwhelmed by that. Because it's constant, you are constantly hearing that again and again all the time, and then it registers in your brain, in your mind so strongly, and it feels like that is happening all the time. And so then that can become a very overwhelming and then depressing. Sometimes we feel like helpless, we feel like that we can't do it much. And then, that could lead to kind of feeling of depressions or, negative feelings, which doesn't help. So I think, you know, yeah, we don't have to pay so much attention. Um, at the same time, being aware of what is happening, informed is good. Um, and then, of course, when we hear and when we know, through readings, you know, I find reading is much more helpful. Reading the news instead of watching, you know what is happening, but without emotionally get so involved. When you are watching, sometimes they can make you emotionally very involved, draining your energy and all of that. So anyway, mm, and when you whether you are reading, watching, and through that, then again, watching our mind all the time, you know, make sure that our mind, of course, sometimes when we watch or when you have different emotion arises, and it's normal, natural for any human beings, any unenlightened beings to be frustrated, to be angry, to be upset for a moment. But through when you are watching that, you're more mindful, watching your thoughts, your feelings, recognizing whatever thought, feeling it arises, but not giving continuity to that feelings so much, So then we feel and then we're able to let it go without holding for a long time. One thing that we can learn to do that, so you can use that as a way to feel how you feel it, and then learning, practicing not to hold on that, but to let it go. Just feel it, experience, and just let it go. So that could be one practice, meditation we can apply, And then, also when we have negative feelings, emotions, anger, um, ill will feelings, then again, recognizing that. And then again, instead of that, we try to have more positive feelings, compassionate feelings, recognizing, those who are creating the sufferings, problems, they are doing because they themselves are overwhelmed by so much suffering, pain, and delusions, how much suffering and pain they might be going through, you know. Um, and then, through that, again, wishing them, be free of all their suffering, pain, wishing them to have love, compassion, wisdom, wishing them to be free from, all the delusions. And the result of such delusion, the suffering that they are experiencing, and suffering that has been experienced by others, and wishing them all the good, all the happiness and cause of happiness, especially through love, compassion, bodhicitta mind, and wisdom. So again, we can use that to use that to allow us to feel naturally how we feel about it, towards them, towards situation. And then, with that recognitions, then you try to transform your mind from being, having a negative thoughts to have more compassionate thought by putting some effort, because that doesn't come naturally. The feeling for anger comes naturally. It's not like you are trying to cultivate it. You just come. You recognize that, and you recognize, that's not the best way. And then you put effort to cultivate good wishes, loving kindness, compassion, wishing them good health, wishing them, happy life, and wishing them especially, inner peace, inner happiness, and the cause of inner peace, happiness, such as the love, compassion, bodhicitta, mind, wisdom. And so then we can try to do that as much as we can. Yeah. Okay. Any others, please? Oh, yes, please.
If we're thinking about the people in Ukraine, that's probably our first emotion is to have an emotional kind of compassion. How do we differentiate that kind of compassion from a true compassion?
Mm-hmm. We have to be able to, I think, to have that compassion, I think is not necessarily bad, it's good. Even that emotional compassion is a good, but we want to go beyond that, just emotional compassions, go more further than that. You can say that is first step. So one thing is sometimes with emotional compassions, as we discussed before, sometimes there might be certain expectations, certain projections by ourselves. In true compassions, there's no expectations and projection from our mind. That is one thing that we can try to see. If there is my projections, whether it is my expectations, that will be one way of looking and differentiating that. Sometimes more than the suffering of others, sometimes it's about how I want to see the world, and the world is not that case, and then that becomes the problems. So there is expectation and projections, and that not being met, more than the suffering of that person itself, or that country, or that world, sometimes there's involved of our own projections, our own expectations, what we want to see for ourselves. So that is one way of kind of trying to see whether they are involved in that and trying to see. But again, as I said, it's not necessarily bad to have that emotional response of compassion, but we want to go beyond that, because let's say once the war ends, once it started to rebuild, people in the Ukraine started to have a better conditions than now, more peace, more stable. Will our compassion still be there? Will we still feel that they're not? Probably our compassion might not be there anymore after that. We might not feel same the way we feel at the moment. And that means our compassion is unstable. But the compassion, true compassion we want to build up, is that even when that changes, even when there's more prosperity, more peace, better. Still, they are still in samsara. Still, they are not free from the delusion and the karma. From that understanding, still the basis for your compassion is still there. And therefore, since the basis for compassion is still there, then you still feel compassion for them, regardless of some temporary changes in their situations. And so that is what the compassion, that true compassion, what we are trying to cultivate is, that your compassion doesn't change because there is change, temporary changes, from worse to a little better or better to a little bit worse, So I think that is the what we aim for through those meditation and practice. Yes. Yes, please.
Geshe, I was thinking that, when we have these prayers, aspirations for beings to be free of suffering, and then we often don't see that result because I guess there's their own piece of karma of the hurt. And then, they say we're in degenerate times, so things getting worse, which they seem to be now. So when we're doing those sorts of practices, is it more important to have the aspiration for people to be free of suffering, but also to see some result? So we're looking into our own mind, because that's what we can change. We can't really, pretty much don't see the effect. It just seems like it's a thought, but it doesn't change what's actually happening for people.
Yeah. These meditations is mostly training your mind to be more compassionate, more loving, more caring, more understanding, than trying to change the world. Because in order to change the world, it can't change just by feeling it. You have to change by actions. But to engage in action, you need to have that compassion to act. If you don't have compassion, you will not act. For example, I can see someone who needs the help. I can see that person needs help. I might see that I have the capacity, ability to help, but maybe I don't have enough compassion, and then I'm not willing to help. And I'm not acting to change and reduce the suffering of someone because there is no compassion, enough compassion, strong compassion to do that. And that is why the world can be a much better place if everyone acts in a compassionate way. But everyone is not acting in a compassionate way. Why? Because we don't have some compassion. So first is we need to build up that compassion and love. If we have the compassion and love, we will act naturally from that state of mind. And the more we act, the more sentient beings act out of that compassion, the better we can make the world, And so that is the training, to train your mind to be more compassionate and kind. If someone is better kind and compassionate, they will act when there is any opportunity, and when they have the ability to be help, benefit, and to change, they will do that. And so the meditation is to really build up that sense of love and compassion. Yeah. But of course, once we have that love and compassion, then we have to act. And you don't have to say, I have to act. When you have love and compassion, you will just act. It's not like, as a parent, mother, parent, for young child, when they have so much love and compassion, when they see the child need the help, and when they see they can be helped, they will just do that. It just come natural for them because they have that love and compassion for them, And so when you have love and compassion, it will just come in easily, naturally. Yeah. So this meditation is really to train your mind. Yeah. To be, to feel more kind and compassion to all sentient beings. Okay. So then, yeah, we have a break, and then we meet again at 1:30. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.